I'm Jackie Miller-Charlton, I'm your host for the series, and I'm excited to be interviewing some exceptionally powerful, inspirational, world-leading women and bring you their stories. Hello everybody and welcome to another edition of She Can, I Can and What It's Like to Be an Iron Lady. Today on the show I'm joined by a very special lady, exceptionally inspirational for all you young ladies out there. Her name is Pom Oliver, and Pom, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you.
You're very welcome.
It's lovely to be here.
Thank you. We're just going to dive right in and learn a little bit about you and your background, if we can. Where did you grow up, and what would you say your early ambitions were as a child?
I grew up in Norfolk, and I think my ambitions at that age was really winning as much as I possibly could on my pony at the local gymkhanas.
Really?
Yeah, that was about it. And probably following my eldest brother, who was on an expedition to Afghanistan when he was 16, with Peter Willey and somebody called Richard Mordaunt. And they discovered, or rediscovered, one should say, one of the castles of the assassins. So, that was always pretty exciting, especially as he came back with real Afghan coats.
Yes.
The really smelly ones that would clear a London bus.
And back in the day.
Yeah.
Amazing. So, where did you go to school?
I was at school in Norfolk, Riddlesworth, and then at a convent.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you go to uni?
No. Well, I went later on in life to study anthropology of religions, but unfortunately the course was cut short as I was asked to join Caroline Hamilton and co. to walk to the North Pole on the first relay, and they said I either had to stay and do the course, i.e. I couldn't go back, which was extremely annoying. But anyhow, that was it, and I thought, to hell with it, after that I'll just read the books myself.
Absolutely. How then did you get into the film industry, which I know you were in for quite a number of years?
Well,
how did creativity become part of your career path?
I think my parents were quite naturally creative. So that was sort of part of life, really. And I'd hitchhiked, actually, out from Cape Town to Sydney. It was by mistake, because actually we wanted to go to Hong Kong, but it wasn't that we got lost, although most of my friends would insist that it was. It was because we didn't have enough money for the last bit. So anyhow, we went to Australia, which one could in those days. And I got into the business there. And it was the resurgence of the film industry in the early 70s. It was terrifically exciting. And, it was a real joy. And all the comments about Australia being frightfully misogynistic, etc. I mean, I had the best possible time ever. And I would not have been able to achieve what we all did achieve so quickly if we'd been in the UK. No, absolutely no question about that. So we were lucky. We were very, very lucky. Worked with incredible directors, Phil Noyce, Peter Weir, the top. Brilliant.
So you kind of stumbled into it, would you say?
I definitely stumbled into it. It was, in fact, it's often the people that you know in the film industry is definitely that. Unfortunately, I was working as a cleaner and, doing things like that. And a friend of mine who I was having at a lunch party with, he said, "What are you doing? You cannot continue being a cleaner." I said, "It's absolutely fine, perfectly good work. It's good enough for me." But he gave me an introduction to a group of people who were making a television series for Anglia, and I was taken on as, no doubt. And I can't. Yes, I was a secretary. Yes, I did know how to type. So yeah, it was some sort of secretarial job. Yeah.
So one of my questions was, did you always imagine yourself working in the film industry? The obvious answer is no.
No, I hadn't given it. I had not thought about it at all. I hadn't thought about work as something I really wanted to do. I had to work, but I just felt firmly that something would always arrive. When I desperately needed it, I always put my bowl out and go, I'm ready for anything. And I will. And I certainly used to do any job that came my way, whether that was working in a garage, cleaning the cars, scrubbing the floor. Just do the job, get the job and do it.
And did you think by having that attitude that you were able to enjoy whatever came your way and just got on with it, and it made you a more rounded person because you tried lots and lots of different things?
Quite possibly. Yes, I mean, it's just not in my nature, it never was, that to sit and wait for my ideal job to arrive. I'm always I'm in amazement when people do that. And especially at the beginning of life, I always think, wow, that's incredible. To me, you just want to get out there and work. It's fun. You meet people and explore. You work out, you find things about yourself that you can do that you never thought you could. You learn things. It's interesting.
But you say that Australia was where you forged your fledgling introduction into film, TV, and it was completely different to the UK at the time.
Well, it was because they didn't have the union structure that the UK had. So that made it easier. The union structure then was very, very tight. And so it gave us a bit more flexibility. Also, the flexibility we had was because it was a resurgence, age didn't come into it, let alone sex. I mean, it was who could do the job the best. Didn't matter if you were 20 or you were 50. Who cared? Just get the job done. And that's what the film is about, really.
Absolutely.
Is the best people for the job,
And did Australia at the time, were they able to attract the big stars of the day?
Well, yes, I think they did. I mean, the first big film I worked on was it was a ballet film. It was big to us, anyhow. It was called Don Quixote. And it had Bobby Helpman, Rudolf Nureyev. They were huge.
Huge stars of the day.
Huge stars of the day, Jack Clayton, came over. I don't know. It attracted all sorts of people.
Was that your first big film in the movie industry?
Yes. Yeah, I was the production secretary, and both producers seemed to have breakdowns. It was it was hilariously ghastly, the whole thing, exhausting, and we all learned so much. And I think the film was pretty good as well, so it was great.
But sometimes opportunity arises from such situations, does it not?
Yes. Well, certainly we all became a bit of a team, and we would really go from one. If you're freelancing, there's a group of you that often work together. You like working together, and so we went. We were all fortunate. It was a good time.
That's what always kind of amazed me about the film industry, how you came together on this project, you created a mini industry, as it were, made this thing, and then it dispersed and everybody went their separate ways. And I don't know why I didn't really think about that, but I didn't. And I don't think most people who go and sit and watch a movie actually understand that all of these people have come together, a lot of the time as strangers, leave as friends, and have created this sometimes masterpiece for us all to enjoy.
Yes.
Which I think is part of the magic of film.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's right.
And when you were involved in this, you progressed in your career through, you got bigger and better jobs, and you became more accountable and more responsibility.
Yes, I did. And again, in that environment, one was able to do that. So yes, I did. I was always in production.
Which is the business end of film.
Yes. Well, it's often viewed as the boring end, but I've rather enjoyed it. So it was, location manager, production managers, unit manager, all that kind of thing, But I also used to did a lot of commercials where I'd probably do the wardrobe and the something else and the production side. It was like that then. You had
So you could wear many hats.
You could, but one was known really for,
And
A
you
or
were
B.
and you produced, and you were involved in producing some quite remarkable films where that went on to
Yeah.
be, really well acclaimed.
Yes. The first film I produced with my then business partner Errol Sullivan was Kathy's Child, and that was about child snatching, of one parent to another, and so that was really interesting, and we shot that in Greece and Sydney. I did.
And did you, with your more
and
successful...
some terrible films, I have to say as well.
I think if you're in it long enough, many people have their fair share of those.
Yeah.
Did you win awards, Pom, for any of the work that you did?
Yes. Australian awards.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we did. Yes, best film and that's yeah.
Fantastic. Which of the projects would you say meant the most of you looking back now, and why would you say that was the case?
I think Don Quixote had. I met some very long-standing friends, and so that was terrific. Kathy's Child, because it was probably the first film that we produced. I think that, again, we worked with some very good, creative people, and it was a heart-rendering story. I always find myself going towards doco-dramas. It sort of suits my way of thinking, rather than I would adore
Fiction.
to be somebody a great creative mind, but I'm far more that way inclined. Yeah.
Well, but don't you think sometimes you listen to people's stories, and I often think to myself, real life is stranger than fiction.
Oh well, yeah, of course. Yeah.
Sometimes I think that cannot be right, and it is. I think, wow,
Yeah.
unbelievable. Have you had, during your time in the film industry, did you have any experience with Hollywood? And how did it compare with what you were doing in Australia or the UK, perhaps?
I did. Yes. Well, basically the business is the same. You're in a studio or you're on a location. In the States, it's a studio. And of course you you deal with Hollywood because you're either, with agents, actors, we might be selling a film, you might be pitching something, there are many, it's so layered, the business. So yes, you travel and you go places and you have experiences.
And you meet a great many people.
Yes.
Were there any actors back in the day that sprung to mind? Did you, the old adage of the prima donnas, or were there some very nice?
Oh, I don't recall any actor that I ever worked with that I would have called a prima donna. There might have been a director or two who was a prima donna. Certainly at the time, maybe some of the older actors might have been expecting a little bit more.
That
the
they'd
great
earned it?
days of stardom had finished.
Yeah, sure.
And so I think that might have affected them or and there were funny incidents and things like that. But not really. It's all usually prima donnas, it's always stories. You hear of such and such a person has behaved appallingly, but it's always on a different film. You don't know.
You've never actually experienced it firsthand.
Not really. I think most people, there'll be a reason. I just don't think majority of people, because they're not going to get another job if it's really true.
No, absolutely. And it's been my experience, certainly, from the actors and actresses that I've come across, that they work tremendously hard.
They do. Yeah.
And, they're very good at their craft.
Yes, I think what people don't appreciate is that you're taking on a role, but it's still your face, and you're bang on an enormous screen, and you've got to do that, day after day, pulling forth all sorts of emotions. I think it's tough.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot tougher than people think.
Absolutely. I mean, you just got to look at today's huge movie stars like Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt. I mean, Tom Cruise, like him or loathe him, I think he's remarkable.
I love him. I think he's absolutely brilliant.
I do too. I think what he has achieved in terms of not just his craft on screen, but what he does off screen, how he helps others, how he tries to be a humanitarian. He's doing things on so many levels. And I think he could be an inspiration to us all, because in today's environment, Pom, of social media, and, people want to be famous now, actually haven't really achieved anything other than wanting to be famous, where these guys have really got the CV. And they're still doing it, and they're still polite.
Yes.
And they're still always showing up. And I think that's something really remarkable.
Yeah, I had a great anecdote, or maybe it was in the papers or something, that a star like Tom Cruise will go, somewhere or other. He'll probably take a cab, and arrive absolutely fine. That's a star. A celebrity will appear in a stretch with 3 or 4 people.
Yeah, I never thought of that.
But,
keeping it real.
Just...
It's kind of like that adage, isn't it? Once you've arrived, it doesn't matter.
Well, it
You know,
matters.
you
You need to be looked after and what have you. But come on.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You're not in love with your ego.
Yeah, not all the time anyhow.
So for people watching this, because younger girls who might be interested in the film industry and the film world and want to be an actress or a producer or behind the camera or whatever, how does the real job compare to what people think the job is?
I think boredom comes into it, which people aren't aware of. It takes a very, very long time. It's a lot of sitting about. I think it's, obviously, it's a very difficult business to get into. It's very hard. It's always been hard, but now it's particularly difficult, I think. So you just got to keep trying. You got to go interview, write letters.
And you may or may not be lucky.
Yeah.
Because I suppose it's a little bit, I don't know, what would you compare the film industry to the closest industry? Music, modelling?
Could be music, could be. I mean, I think any of those industries, you've got to be up there on time or before time. It doesn't matter whether it's 2:00 in the morning or midnight. You've got to put the hours in. Do your job. Don't get uppity. It's a job.
And you may or may not be successful.
Well, you might be, but that's in anything.
Yes,
anything.
Of course.
So, I can't just point that at these sort of businesses. But I think, you just got to, it's a job. Just go and do the job.
I mean, to inspire perhaps young ladies watching this, it's, for me, they shouldn't be off-put. I'll use modelling as an example. There are millions of really pretty girls who don't make it, and it's not because they're not good looking enough.
No.
It may be just because they're not looking for that kind of look, and that kind of look is already fulfilled.
Yes, I think it's a very good point, especially with actors, because you're choosing your actors for those roles, and you're putting together a team, and it can have nothing to do with the individual who might be perfect in every way, but it's just not the type that is needed for that particular role, and I think being an actor going for auditions is so hard and very emotional, emotionally draining. I think it could be, I should think, extremely depressing. You're putting forward the tapes all the time. You're going out, you're meeting people, putting yourself out, and you don't get it. It's so tough.
Yeah. I mean, I have a very good friend and an older gentleman, and his son is Eddie Redmayne, and he's told me many a story, but of course he tells me about young Eddie when he wanted to become an
Yeah.
actor. That's all he wanted to do. And they said, well, you have to pay for yourself. You have to get a second job. You have to, they wanted to make sure because they were horrified. It was like, oh,
Yeah.
what?
Yes, of course.
Because he was brilliant on stage. He loved it. It was his passion. Of course, that has a happy ending. We have and I'm very proud we are, all of him.
Of course.
All of us are very
Yeah.
proud of him because, he's Oscar-winning British actor. But I can imagine a parent feeling that way and thinking, oh, no, not acting.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you want to protect your kids from this constant, no, next, next.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
for everybody watching there, this lady was a film producer, and therefore, yes, some of them make it, but don't be too downhearted if you don't. There's always something for everyone.
There is.
Before we move on, biggest misconception from the general public about the film industry, what would you say?
That people are lazy in it. I think, what are they all doing? I don't know. I think, look, most industries, nobody actually has the faintest idea what happens. Who knows how a buyer is trained for M&S?
Yes, exactly.
No idea. Of course not. And everyone says, there's some kind of secret speak. No, there isn't. It's just going to be shorthand or whatever. Every industry is the same, I think. And I think it's always surprising if when one does actually.
Absolutely.
learn.
I think it's probably more of a fascination because of the big screen.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
And I think that's,
It's got to be. It's got to be.
Totally. So your transition and reinvention, I've called it. What made you decide to step away from film when you did? And it was a successful career.
Oh, I can tell you that. When I first went into it, I walked into a production office, which is where the hub is for everything when you're on a film, and I looked at the people working in it, and there was one woman there who could have been a production secretary, she could have been, didn't really matter. Anyhow, she was there with the desk, and in those days people drank more than they do now. She definitely drank. She had a bottle of wine, and she looked awful and totally exhausted, drained by the hours, which were relentless. And I thought, right, I will leave this business before I am 40. And I did. I always thought that, and that just suited me fine. I think it's a brilliant industry to be in your 20s and 30s, and a number of my other girlfriends from the time when I was in the business, in different walks, they could have been in, say, PR or sales distribution or whatever. We were all really delighted when we finally managed to get out, because it's terribly seductive once you're in it. There's another job, or there's this area, or there's that you want to do.
And if you do a good job, I would imagine it's like most industries you're sought after because word gets around. Pom does a great job on this, and
all of that sort of thing. So, but I loved being in it, and I've loved being out of it.
So you did a segue. What was next?
I left the side I was in, and then I also came back to live in England in the late 80s, and I worked on a few co-productions, and then that was when I left the business, and I sort of went more into property. Really, I did quite a few property things, which I'm still involved with now, which is more holiday lets, sort of glamping type stuff, and it was then Caro, who I was working with, asked me over the photocopy one morning, did I want to go to the North Pole? So I said, yeah, why not? Let's go. So
absolutely.
That was
amazing.
Never turned down an opportunity.
Even if it half kills you.
Yeah.
How do you think your experience in the film world prepared you for exploration at all? Did you think about, oh, this is going to be such an adventure, I need to capture this on film? Or did that not even enter your mind when you set
Oh,
out
yes,
on
it
this
did.
venture?
Oh, yes. I mean, I always take lots of photographs and video and things like that. I mean, because the Arctic is so visually exciting. And this country, everybody talks about Antarctica, and quite rightly from a coastal point of view. But if you're going inland, which is obviously what we were doing, so we were going to the South Pole, it's not so exciting because it's frozen cap over land, which shifts all the time a little bit, which is why there are crevasses. Whereas the Arctic is frozen sea, and there are tides, which moves the ice. So the ice is coming up and crashes into land, and that's how you get these great kind of blocks of ice. So you can be climbing in and out of a room like this, with the blocks of ice you're climbing over and pulling your sledge and climbing over that. But you do get these beautiful visual kind of ice-scapes. So one day you can be in, I don't know, you could be in Oklahoma, then you're in Skye, and then you're in a ice sculpture park. I mean, it's beautiful, and also can be terrifying. But yeah, it's exciting visually. It's absolutely wonderful. I mean, a great photographer should take some models out there. Not that one could ever really do it, I suspect. Would be amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And have you done both the poles?
Yes.
North and south?
Yes, north and south. Yes, I was on.
And which one was, in your view, the most dangerous? Or the most...
Well, listen, they can both be and they can both not be. Weather is luck. Lots of luck comes into it. We were fortunate with when I was part of the team going to the South Pole, in that we didn't, manage to fall down any huge crevasse fields or something. That could be pretty terrifying. And the north, we had a rough time on the second time with very, very bad storms. We probably went in a little too early. But yeah, the north to me is the exciting one. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that was absolutely no question.
And
we're lucky because we went. Now I don't know. I should think it will be unusual, very unusual now if somebody can
to go to the North Pole?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you've done something that very few people have ever achieved.
Yeah, we all have. Yes.
Well, not all.
Well, the team, my team.
Yes, your team. Yes. Exactly. How many were on the team?
3 of us on the last one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when was that? When was that expedition?
2003.
Yeah, incredible. And ladies.
Yes.
And how old were you all at the time?
What's that terrible? Hang on, 2003. I would have been 50 odd, early 50s. The others were kind of 40s.
Well, I always believe 50's the new 40, 40's the new 30, etc.
Like
these days, and especially if you keep yourself fit, which I know you do, and you know you've been this morning, for example, you've been training with the paratroopers, so that'll give you some idea, girls.
Yes, Lee LW Fitness in Colchester. Girls, go straight there if you want to.
Absolutely,
get a great figure or get fit. He's the man.
So to me, it's incredible what you've achieved on these expeditions. I mean, it truly is. You have traversed the North Pole, traversed the South Pole. I mean, just saying that sounds ridiculous when you consider that, we all got taught history at school about Scott of the Antarctic and the North Pole and blah, blah. And you've done it.
Yeah, I know, it is rather extraordinary.
I mean, it really is extraordinary.
Yes,
do you have any intention of writing down your memoirs, making a book of this, or
no, I think
describing your experiences?
Well, I know my brothers always say I ought to be doing something like that. I probably will at some point. Not necessarily. I wouldn't write a book about my personal experiences of the pole because other people have and have done it very well. I think there's so many. There are so many books that one can write, frankly, and it's not that interesting. So other people have done it and done it terrifically. So no, I won't be doing something on the poles, but I may do something later,
About expeditions in general.
sort of thing, or something like that.
I think it would be truly inspirational, Pom, because honestly, to listen to you and to understand what you've actually achieved is quite a feat. How do you prepare for some of these adventures? I mean, your polar expeditions, mentally and physically, these are huge tasks to take on. How did you prepare for that?
I think the physical side has changed hugely initially, because there really was very little knowledge about how to prepare. And it was also like the food was also very difficult. There was so little information. So one would do, oh golly, we used to, pull logs. Well, I used to pull a log behind me, or pull tyres, that sort of thing for hours. One put the hours in. I'm not sure one really needs to do that to the extent now. There are different ways that one does things. Mentally is actually the really important thing. You've got to be, obviously you've got to be fit, but you do get fitter as you go along.
Sure.
And then of course that starts to
Plateau.
and drop off. But mentally, you just got to think about it, and and then you just got to work at it.
Dig in.
And then it just bang, then you've got it. I don't know how you do it. You just do it. If you want to do something, it doesn't matter what it is. If you want to achieve something at work, you want to, I don't know, you want to buy a flat, you want to get a new wardrobe, you've just really got to imagine it and bring it to reality in your mind, and put yourself into the footsteps that take you there. You'll do it.
Mental clarity is important.
Yes, it is. It is. I think that, it's true. Being outside, getting some fresh air.
So visualization is a big part.
It's critical visualization.
Muhammad Ali talked about visualizing knocking his opponent out in the 10th round or the 8th round or whatever. And of course, 9 times out of 10 it came true.
He did it, yeah. I mean, you've got to. You absolutely have to.
Were there any really standout, challenging moments on either the North or South Pole that have continued to live with you, or you felt that was close?
Yes, certainly. The North Pole was pretty close. We were in our tent. It was early in the morning, so we hadn't. We were still in our sleeping bag. It was very, very cold. It was round about -50 mark.
Wow.
And we heard this, it's like a shriek of a train coming into a crash, a high-pitched shriek. And what that is the ice has come in from the tides, is banged into land at some stage, and it will then cause a huge crack through the ice floes. And it's this screaming shriek. And the cut came between our tent and the guy rope. So when that happens, the ice is going to shift. So the ice, instead of being flat, is going to tip up. So you've got to move. And you have to move as fast as possible. But in that temperature, your brain has slowed down. So you're not acting quickly. Today, of course, if you've got 5 cups on a table, you can pick up 5 cups. You simply won't do that. You'll pick up 1 cup and you'll move it, and then you'll pick up the next. Your brain doesn't work, so it's incredibly difficult to get everything together as fast as we possibly could. Anyhow, Cara went first with the comms, so if anything happened, there was communication back to base camp, which happened to be in Newbury. And Anne and I packed up. Well, he was a terrific guy, so yeah, it was the right place for us. And anyhow, we started off the day, and there was a wind. I could feel a wind. It was the wrong, just know things are wrong, and we couldn't stop because the ice was unstable until eventually Cara said, okay, the wind was getting really strong. Cara said, okay, we can stop. So we stopped. And we worked out how you put a tent up as quickly as possible. So we went into the routine, tent flat, and I had a 200-pound sledge, which was put on the tent. I lay on the tent while the other two putting the stakes in, and me and the tent and the pulk were just picked up and chucked the other side of the room. So we knew we couldn't get the tent up quick like that. So all we could do was corral around with our pulks and wrap ourselves in the tent and hunker down. And we were there for well over 48 hours, I'd say.
Wow.
And we just sort of, it was not good. That was not a good time.
Did you think that could possibly have been the end?
I didn't allow myself to think that. But yes, of course.
Doubts creep in.
Well, I know for some of the, one of the others, did think that they.
And you
that.
were having to coach that
Yourself.
particular person
No.
through...
Listen, the noise is so extreme. You can have somebody's nose in your ear, which we did. We were tight together. You couldn't hear.
Trying to keep warm.
Just to try and keep warm. But you couldn't hear a thing.
And
all you're doing is you've just got to concentrate on keeping your breathing, not hyperventilating, which did happen at one point. One of us hyperventilated, then everybody starts to It's all of those things.
These are things that nobody would actually think about. These, sharing this story, I would never have thought about just the simple explanation of the cups, that I would only pick one cup up because my brain slowed right down because of the temperature. But of course, it's all about, altitude and
all of that
and
stuff.
And the air thinning around you and not being able to get a full capacity of air.
Yeah.
Incredible. And then you were mad enough to continue with these expeditions and thinking, okay, what can I do next?
Yes, that's right. Well, we went for a bit of warmth.
So you conquered the North and the South Pole, and then you thought, let's do a bit of sunbathing this time.
That's right, exactly.
And I understand that you have a particularly interesting story from Aralkum. Is that,
the Aralkum,
yes, the Aralkum, pronouncing that right? Mm-hmm. Which stayed with you, and what was that one?
Well, Rosie Stancer, who I do these desert things with, and I've also gone to the poles with, she's the team leader, and we were discussing what to do, and she had done a solo. She's extraordinary, tiny, Tinkerbell. And we thought, well, deserts is the thing. So we looked at the Aralkum Aral Desert, which is, I think it is still the world's worst man-made disaster. And what happened was, it was the requirement of us all for cheap cotton clothing, jeans. The Russians in the 60s dammed rivers so they could grow cotton. And this huge sea, the Aral Sea, which was the fourth inland sea after the Caspian Sea, was reduced to nothing, really, and has been a disaster because although the World Bank has come in and supported Kazakhstan, and Kazakhstan has worked very, very hard on that, and some water in the areas, the Little Kum has now increased. Fishermen can now fish, but they used to live on the sea, but they now are 34 miles from fishing. So the area is full of pesticides, insecticides. There were small areas, indeed, much like in Scotland, I have to say. Terrible things were tested, including in the Aral Sea, anthrax. So although they are supposedly that side of things has been cleaned up, I'm not entirely convinced, because life expectancy is down to, it reduces horrifically. It's probably down to about 50 years now.
That's outrageous.
Children are born deformed, pregnancies are aborted. It's ghastly. It's it's arid.
And how do we not know this?
Well, there are documentaries made. it, things come into the news and something else ghastly usually happens, and it
Yes.
just goes. But it's a shocker. It is a shocker, and it's such a shame because Kazakhstan is a beautiful country. The north is absolutely gorgeous. It really is. The people are delightful, and it's a wonderful place to go. You can climb, you can swim. It's lovely. Almaty, apples, beautiful apples.
And so you took on this expedition?
So we did. Rosie and I did that. Yes, and it was quite brutal on us both actually. Yeah.
There was only two of you?
Yeah. We had a great backup team, Kazakhstani backup team, Serik. But yeah, it was. I got arsenic and cadmium poisoning. It was incredibly hot as well. And it was it was a really unpleasant
You got
time.
arsenic poisoning.
Arsenic and cadmium.
And
it was the mixture that's not so hot. And and also, God, I sent a photograph. I was feeling I actually had to peel off. Rosie, of course, carried on, but I peeled off for a couple of days, and I sort of looked at my legs, and they were covered in bruises, like a penny. So I sent a photograph of this to Kent and my husband, and I said, "Can you send it to what is it?" And nobody seemed to know. But later, I then discovered it was spleen. The spleen. It shows that. Rather amazing, isn't it? That something's affecting your spleen.
Wow.
So that was probably part of the poison or something. But anyhow, I know I was gripped by that.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And you must have been in a lot of pain.
No, I wasn't.
Oh, you weren't?
I wasn't in pain. No, not at all. I was just knackered.
Yeah, exhausted. And how long?
Terrible. Absolutely terrible.
How long did that expedition go on for? And how many miles did you walk? And what did you endure? And what was the daily routine like?
It was about 300 kilometres, a bit less than that. And it was, 3 weeks or something. It wasn't very long. It was daily routine is the same as anything, get up, get your water, get going as fast as possible, eat, go, But, it was we'd got the wrong food because we were sort of used to polar stuff and everything. We both like nuts. We all had a lot of nuts with us because it's easy, and we have, of course, dried food. You put hot water in. It was so hot, it just did not suit us. So we changed it completely. We should have thought about it, but now we've learned. And we had the local bread, which was a kind of a flat bread, and we were desperate for cucumbers.
Bit of tomato.
Yeah, I don't think we had tomatoes, but it was the cucumber and the local cheese, and we seemed to kind of live off that, really. Water was it wasn't overly pleasant. I don't advise people to go and do it myself, actually.
No,
not the Aral Sea.
absolutely.
Go to Almaty and further north, but don't go across the Aral Sea.
Wow. So, retracing King Charles II's footsteps.
Yes, indeed, the Morris way.
Yeah, absolutely, but through a modern lens. How did it feel revisiting history? Did you think about those times?
Yes, of course we did, all the time, because we were following his supposed escape, or as much as one can. Obviously, buildings have been built over various things. So, well, it's quite, you still think, gosh, he had to hide here, then he came back. And, there he is trying to put on a disguise. But, he was 6'4", very dark, swarthy, and spoke French, didn't speak English. So it would have been difficult, and he kind of had to, in Worcester, rush in a pub's door and rush out the other side while they were, parliamentarians were coming after him, and all wild. Had to dress up as a peasant and pretend he was not what he was. All sorts. So it's exciting. We talked about it a lot.
Yeah.
Yes, and of course every pub is called the Royal Oak. Where he hit up a tree or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. I have it on good authority that you're affectionately referred to on these expeditions as Nursey.
Oh,
how did that come about?
I was probably bossing Rosie to, I don't know, eat something or take some pills or something like that. Yeah,
So you're just naturally the one that tries to take care of the crew.
possibly.
So you play a unique dual role combining creative and scientific responsibilities. How do you balance those?
Well, I think there's numerous facets to any expedition, and we believe that yes, you want to do something for yourself, so you decide to do that particular expedition, but you need to do something on top of that. So that is talking and finding out if there's something that one can bring to the party, to the country that you're going to, and indeed maybe something back to one's own country. So we, if we can, we do some kind of scientific work. So there's psychological things that we do, which we're given questions, which we try and do every night for the university. And now on our next expedition, we are working with a company called Bradshaw on rock art. Not that we really know much about it, but we know where it is. And so any art that we come across that is not in that area is going to be of interest to them. I mean, in simple form. So that will be really interesting because rock art, I mean, in Saudi is incredible. I mean, there is so much of it. So much hasn't been found yet. And it really gives a pictorial history of the incense route, of trade, of times, battle. There it is on the rocks.
It's a little bit like the pyramids in Egypt or the tombs in Egypt. You know, there it all is. It's a movie.
Yes, exactly.
You know, it's all history. It's all written on the walls for you to learn what happened and who invaded who and which king was...
I think the pharaohs are slightly... more chronological. They really knew what they were doing. I think the difference in the Saudi rock art is that it's more of a memory for the Bedouins in that they view it, it's called wasan, they view it as their connection to their ancestors and leaving something for the next to follow. And so they're very indicative. I mean, there's some wonderful drawings of elephants, and there were no elephants there.
No.
You know, this is X thousands of years, of course, but and now they think that was probably the war elephants that were coming in at one point. You know, so it's and you see these extraordinary pathways that have been laid then for two elephants to pass, which they were, these amazing war elephants. Huge. 2 elephants.
Huge. I mean, fascinating. But I mean, Saudi, obviously, they're reaching out now and they're making their country much more accessible to tourism, etc. But, when you look, I went to visit in the Dubai Expo, I went to visit the Saudi stand. It was incredible. Yeah. Some of the scenery and the greenery. And you're thinking, this is Saudi? Because unless you've been, in your head, you're thinking desert.
Yeah.
But actually, it's so much more.
Well, I think, what we're not, all we have ever, in this country, it's sand, as you say, it's Lawrence galloping across, or, that sort of stuff. But, coffee came from Yemen. Yemen, in the old days, the border has moved, of course. And down the beautiful coffee growing area, just wonderful terraces, totally different than what you expect.
Absolutely.
So it's an enormous country. So there's all sorts of vegetation and terrain. Wonderful.
I know. Yeah. And I mean, I think, one of the wonderful things in life is, I always say that we're work in progress, and educating ourselves every day is something really, we're truly lucky if we can.
Yeah.
But one of the greatest way for me for education is, of course, travel. And
Yes.
you're doing it in spades, which is
Yeah.
amazing. What do you think that you've learned about the psychological toll of extreme environments on you as an individual and your team?
Well, I think you learn to spot it, and you learn to live with it, and it needs, and after a little bit of time, it passes. But I think you're either a team player. You can either be good at working with the team or being in a team. I mean, it's the same as if you're playing netball or you're playing, a huge, football game. The team has to work together, and you have to
Sure.
know your role, however small or big it is, and you know that is the most important thing. The team must succeed, not you as an individual, and that's the big thing to learn.
Well, I think it's vitally important, particularly when you put yourself in such danger.
Yes.
And, these expeditions that you go on, Pom, they're not to be taken lightly.
No, I guess not. Yes, you certainly have to. I mean, trust your players, your team, but if you as an individual something happens to you, you have to you have to understand you've got to, and that's the toughest. You have to then give up that position. That's tough.
And then you feel like a failure in your own skin.
But even though the team can be successful, but without you, the team may not have been successful, and that goes across the board for whether it's an expedition or you're playing football.
You
It's the
think
same.
it's important to highlight mental health aspects of exploration to others who may be looking at doing something, an incredible challenge, for example, but they haven't maybe considered, just how hard the task is that they're trying to undertake?
Well, I think it sort of goes with the territory. You've got to be strong mentally, and I don't think you'll really get to first post if you're not, because actually getting the thing to be able to start is incredibly difficult. But an expedition can be a day. It doesn't have to be weeks or months. It can be for something that you'd like to, you'd love to do. One might want to try and, I don't know, climb a hill or climb a mountain. You haven't done it before, or go on a wonderful trail around the south of England, or walk across Scotland from west to east. It can be. It's just something that you want to do.
Just challenging yourself
It's
to do
challenging
something
yourself,
different.
and it doesn't have to be. It's just putting yourself slightly out of your comfort zone, and that helps one mentally, I think, enormously, because you're outside, you're doing some nice physical work without it. You don't have to go and train or anything like that. You can just go outside and enjoy it, rather than be frightened by it, because it's very, very different. The countryside is very different from town.
Yeah, of course.
And it's not a park.
No.
But that's the difference.
What message are you hoping to communicate to the world through the documentation of your explorations to date?
Well, I think that we want to show that if you put your mind to it, you can achieve something. That women as a group are now moving into all sorts of different areas, and if they want to do it, they'll achieve it. And I think they do. We want to show in the Saudi expedition that we want to bring what we can to Saudi for people to realise what an extraordinary country it is, what amazing changes are being made there. MBS, and King Abdullah, they've got these huge reserves have been made for animals, wildlife, particularly, Catosphere, which is a big cat charity, which is being formed, so that animals can be given an environment to live in, and people don't know that Saudi's doing that.
Of course they don't.
You
They
know?
just like to speculate on bad news, unfortunately.
Yeah. So
and they're never prepared to share all the
Yeah.
wonderful things that are
Yes.
going on.
And everybody's heard about Neom probably, and the
Yeah.
line, which is amazing sort of architectural work. But then there's also the Red Sea project. It's very exciting. It's hugely exciting and dynamic. Incredible architecture. I mean, I think it's the most exciting country there is to be there at the moment. I mean, I would say anybody, you got to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you heard it here first, girls and boys. Anybody listening, get yourself to Saudi. And actually, I have some Saudi friends who are telling me things have changed, and it's only 5 minutes now online to get a visa. So
I think that's right.
Yeah.
And also, you don't, you can wear, as long as you have a little bit of respect,
Of
long
course.
sleeves, floppy shirt.
And I think you should have respect.
Of course
it's
you
their
should.
country, and you
Yes.
take that respect there.
I agree.
I wish
entirely.
people would give us the same respect when they come to our country.
Yes.
But that's a whole different conversation.
That's true.
So, what impact, Pom, do you hope that telling the story of your expeditions, etc., will have around climate change, if any?
Well, I think all we can do is bring some more awareness to show change that has happened, or maybe not happened, but just constantly to bring awareness. I mean, people often say, well, why are you doing it? What's going to happen from that? And I was told this lovely story of this little boy by a seaside, and there was a pile of starfish. And somebody came out and said, "What are you doing?" And he was chucking these starfish into the sea. And they said, "Why are you bothering, And he said, "Well, makes a difference to that one. Makes a difference to that one." And that's what I believe we do. If we can
Great story.
excite somebody, one person, they're going to talk about it to somebody else.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It starts with one step.
It does.
What drives you now? What's your why? And as an explorer and communicator, what do you hope to get from this next expedition?
Well, I always think calling myself an explorer is not quite correct, because, we know we've got maps and Google and goodness knows what else. So one can have a view, and we know, it's not a flat earth. Well, I believe it's not a flat earth.
There's some people now...
They do. So that's fine.
There's some people now saying, the flat earthers are back. So
Well, exactly.
Hey, who knew?
So we have the, so we're, it's not quite an explorer, I wouldn't say. But I've now completely forgotten what the question was.
What drives you now?
Oh, yeah, okay. So what drives me now? Well, I've always been inquisitive, so that's still there. And I've always felt that you're on Earth for a certain amount of time. Who knows, one might come back, but I don't know exactly when that will be. So I want to see and do as much as possible. I often think it would be wonderful if I could be one of those people who actually have really only ever walked from their house to their local shop and back. I rather like the concept of that, but anyhow, that's not me. So, yeah, just inquisitiveness just carries on all your life, hopefully. And if one has the ability to go and see further, great, go for it.
Is there a dream location or a journey that that's like on your bucket list that you still want to do?
Well, I used to think I'd like to go to the moon, but I don't really have much desire to do that anymore. There are so many places I'd like to go to. I mean, I'd love to go to Japan.
Been there.
Have you?
Mm.
Yeah, my nephew and niece love it. In fact, two of my great nieces live in Tokyo, so I have no excuse not to go. So I would love to go. I don't know. There's just all the time. All the time there's places I want to go. There's places I want to go probably just, 10 miles down the road from where I live.
As I said, travel, it's such an education.
Yes, it is.
Isn't it?
It is.
So what's next up for Pom in terms of future expeditions,
Well, we're just
business ventures?
completely and utterly heads into the incense route expedition now. That's what.
Without distraction.
No, that's it. Yes.
And then to close, we have a bit of a tradition. We're hoping that this podcast will inspire, enthuse, and educate those that are listening, particularly younger women.
Yeah.
And if she can, I can. So listening to your remarkable story might spark something within someone to say, wow, what resolve. If she can overcome something like that in the North Pole, then I can go and tell my boss I need a raise, or whatever it is that she's facing in her life. That takes an awful lot of resolve. And what you've achieved, you require resolve in spades. That to me is an Iron Lady. What to you does an Iron Lady mean?
I think, the phrase "the Iron Lady" can be quite terrifying, can't it? Really, but I think people who, it's usually women, but certainly isn't always women, at work, who are being belittled by someone time and time again, even though they are probably extremely good at their job, and that could be why that's happening. And when those people manage to stand up against it, that's an Iron Lady. You don't have to travel. It comes from inside, and it takes enormous strength
And courage.
and huge courage to be able to do that. And I think that people need to know, if you're good at what you do, you will always get another job. You will be, it will happen. Don't worry, but don't ever let yourself be put down.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Pom, it's been truly remarkable listening to your story. I could listen to it forever. Seriously, I have the utmost of respect for what you're doing. It is incredible. You put it across as if it's just, we're going for a walk around Hyde Park. I mean, truly, what you've achieved is incredible. Thank you so much for being you. Thank you for inspiring our audience. And thank you for inspiring me.
Oh, well, thank you.
So it's been an absolute joy.
Well, it's been great fun. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Pom.